Hey everyone, Ghost Moo here, and welcome back to Everyday Backpacker. So it's May, and if you're like most backpackers, or at least like me, you're probably in the process of getting your gear ready for the upcoming season. Pulling out the tent, pulling out the sleeping bags, making sure everything's there, and really just using it as an excuse to get your stoke ready for the upcoming season, because God knows after the last winter, we could certainly use some trail time. So I thought I would take this opportunity to address what I see in the shop as probably the most misunderstood gear maintenance out there today. And that is going to be the maintenance of breathable, waterproof garments. Rain jackets and rain pants. Pretty oftentimes, especially during this time of the year with the rain and everything, I get a lot of people coming into the shop saying that their waterproof garment is no longer waterproof and they need a way to treat it. Oftentimes, it's not that their garment is no longer waterproof, they just need to do a little bit of maintenance to kind of revive it. So before we get started on talking about how to maintain it, let's take a little bit look of the anatomy of a waterproof, breathable garment. In this case, my Outdoor Research Helium 2 jacket. Now, most waterproof breathable garments have a membrane in them that provides the moisture barrier. And that membrane is commonly referred to by Gore-Tex, which is a brand name, or the more proprietary blends like H2No with Patagonia, Pertex, and there's several others out there that I won't get into the weeds on. They generally speaking all have a very similar construction. There are two types of garments with the outdoor waterproof membrane. So the first and longest lasting one is going to be a true 3-layer garment. What that refers to is that it has obviously 3 layers. The first one being the face fabric, which is the outer protective barrier, which is usually treated with something called DWR, durable water repellency, which we'll get into later. And then inside behind that will be the actual membrane itself. Now for those of you who don't know, what the membrane is essentially is a piece of plastic that has been stretched in a manner that creates micropores inside of it. And these micropores are small enough that they won't allow liquid water in, but they do allow water vapor to release. Now, common misconception with that is that it allows all water vapor to release, and that's not true. You will always have some moisture retained inside, and that's going to play into why some people believe that some of the issues they're having are lack of waterproofing. And then the third layer would be an internal layer to protect from the inside. 3 layers are obviously going to be the most durable and the best protected because you don't have that membrane exposed. And so it's protected by both sides. These are also going to be typically a higher price point, and also they're going to be heavier and less compactable. Now the other option is what this jacket is, which is what is known as a 2.5 layer. So you still have the outer protective layer with the durable water repellency, but on the inside, this part here, what you're looking at is actually the membrane itself. So the membrane is only protected from the outside, it's not protected from the inside. The half layer portion comes into play with this printing on the inside, which isn't just there to make it look cool, because honestly, who cares if their jacket looks cool on the inside? The printing on the inside of this is actually there to try to break up the amount of contact to your skin to kind of decrease that clammy side, which we all know is pretty much bunkus because it doesn't really work. But that's the idea behind it. So obviously these are going to be lighter and they're going to be more compactable because they have less material. However, there is some sacrifice with durability. Anytime you expose the membrane, you have the opportunity for that membrane to become damaged, which is what is going to cause it to no longer be waterproof. As long as that membrane's intact, it should still be waterproof. In fact, because of that, most jackets that are 2.5 layers will not be Gore-Tex. They will be a proprietary blend because Gore-Tex won't guarantee, do their 5-year guarantee of no leaks due to the likelihood, increased likelihood of damage to the membrane. So as with anything, there are good pluses and minuses. But generally speaking, that's what makes up your waterproof garment. But one thing that you can do with a 2.5 layer is when you're starting out the season is give it a good look over. You want to see if there's any holes in the membrane, damage to the inside. You want to check the seam seals and make sure that they're not coming apart, and some general idea of any kind of physical damage, because any physical damage to the membrane is going to leak. There's no doubt about that. The membrane has to be intact for it to be waterproof. So provided that your membrane is in pretty good shape, this is going to lead to the point where you're going to have to look into doing some maintenance for it. And the maintenance I'm going to address in the way that I see the common misconceptions associated with it. Now, the first and biggest misconception that is a holdover from way back in the 80s and 90s when these materials first came out is people believe that you're not supposed to wash any Gore-Tex or Tech type fabrics. And the belief is that washing them will damage them. Actually, it's the opposite. Not washing them will in fact damage the material. Now, this misconception is so common that it led Gore-Tex actually redoing their warranty, and they now will void warranties if the garment is not properly washed and maintained. Now, I think what leads a lot of people to believing that washing them damages the material is because they use the wrong kinds of detergents. Liquid detergents, like we use with our regular clothing, have thickening agents and emulsifiers added to them in order to make the liquid thicker, because for some reason we don't think soap works well if it's runny. Unfortunately, these thickening agents and emulsifiers will in fact coat the membrane and clog up those pores, and thus creating inability for vapor to leave at all. And so that, of course, is going to increase the amount of moisture that is retained by the jacket, and that makes it feel like it's no longer waterproof because you're getting wet on the inside. You're just getting wet from yourself. Now, instead of a regular detergent, what you should use is some sort of a tech wash. For instance, today I'll be using Granger's Performance Wash, and there's also Nikwax Tech Wash. These are really hard things to say. And these are specially designed for use with these kind of membranes. They won't coat it, and they won't clog up the pores of the jacket. Now, the reason why washing is so important is because if we don't wash it, all of the oils and stuff that come off of our body and the dirt and stuff will eventually also clog those pores and have that similar effect, thus creating a non-breathable version of it, and you're going to start retaining a lot more of that moisture, thus defeating the purpose of having a breathable garment. Now, the second part of maintenance on these garments that often gets overlooked and misunderstood is the application of a durable water repellency, commonly referred to as DWR. Oftentimes people will come in the shop and they'll say, I'm looking for something to re-waterproof my jacket. That's not the case. Durable water repellency, as it says, is a repellency. It's not waterproofing. The waterproofing is in the membrane of the garment. DWR is what you spray onto the outside of it that creates that beading effect that you'll see on a brand new piece of gear. It allows the rain to kind of bead up and roll off before it ever even has to go through the membrane. Because the membrane is the ultimate barrier, but in a relatively light rain or steady rain, a durable water repellency can kind of shed that water before it becomes an issue. The other thing that this does is it prevents what's called wetting out. So when the durable water repellency either becomes overwhelmed or wears off, because it does wear off over time, it can allow the garment to do what's called wetting out. And that's where, instead of the water beating up and rolling off, it just flattens out into the fabric and is absorbed by the outer layer. And what happens is that cold, wet water now is sitting directly onto your body. It's not falling off, it's not going away, it's just kind of sitting there. And as your body releases the water vapor, that also cools and is what causes that little bit of moisture on the inside of the jacket, which normally we just blow off as sweat. But when the jacket wets out, it cools that down and it makes it feel like the garment is leaking. And so by replacing that durable water repellency, you no longer have that wetting out effect. This is the other thing that causes a lot of people to think that their garment is leaking when it actually is not. It's just that uncomfortable feeling of water is allowed to sit there, and the vapor from your body now feels like rainwater as opposed to sweat. Now, you can replace the durable water repellency with another product. In this case, I'm using Nikwax Text Direct Spray-On. They do have a wash-in option, which is, they claim, does the same. I like to use a spray-on for my waterproof garments because there's no reason to coat the inside, although they do claim that it won't affect the breathability of the garment. It used to be that durable water repellency would last for years, but it was very chemically heavy. And so as the manufacturing process changed, unfortunately the durability of the waterproofing, or the durable water repellency, has decreased over the years. And so it is important to replace it every couple of years. I need to replace it on my jacket, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to do that. So to apply the durable water repellency, first thing you want to do obviously is wash it with a tech wash. And then you just take it directly out of the washing machine and lay it flat. There's no need to dry it because the most ironic part of this process is that the durable water repellency needs to have water in order to end up in the material. So go ahead and set it down, lay it flat. While it's still wet, we're just going to spray it evenly onto the fabric.
Always kind of a pain in the butt.
And then let sit for a couple minutes. And after about 2 minutes, you just want to take a damp cloth and kind of sop up any of the excess material. You'll see a little off-white kind of puddles. And then you're going to flip it over and do the other side. And once you're done, just hang it up to dry. Lastly, one of the ways that you can really prolong the performance of your gear and allow it to work longer is just like with sleeping bags and tents, you don't want to store them compressed. Let those suckers out, put them on a hanger, hang them up in the closet during the off season, and this will decrease the amount of wear on the fabric and the amount of wear on the durable water repellency coating. And that's it. Regularly performing these simple steps will definitely and greatly improve the performance of your garment, as well as add to the longevity of its usage. Thanks, and keep hiking on.